Hello and welcome to Geeks Camp, the home of RPG goodness and general tomfoolery. My name is Zach, and the hosts joining me this evening is the Mayor of Fort Wayne, uh, Dungeon Master Extraordinaire Troy Sandlin.
Huma Matata, everybody.
Fantastic. And then we are joined by our special guest for the evening. Let's see, the creator of Worlds, David Barrentine.
Hello. I make worlds.
Ooh, that's the excitement
That's
level that we needed, and that really comes standard on the show. So.
Hold on. Let me get a drink real quick. Let me get my, liquid crack. I make worlds. Yeah, get in there.
Oh my gosh, I thought
oh.
John was going to be gone this week.
Well, he hasn't said anything about Dragonlance yet, so.
Oh yeah, well, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. Well, hey, David, thanks for hopping in. We've got some fun to talk to you about, some fun stuff to talk to you about, but I'm just excited to get to chat with you in general. You and I chat in text uh, pretty consistently, and then every once in a while we get on a voice chat and kick stuff around for a while. But it's nice to do it officially and in a public space this time, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. I'm tired of yelling. I need an adult.
Yeah, fair.
Hmm.
Well, don't say you're getting tired of it because you might have to again by the time this is over. Yeah. Well, yeah. So, David, let's see. Let's do a little bit of backstory here. And Troy,
In
I'm
the
going to rely.
beginning.
Yeah, Troy, I'm going to rely you on you for some of this. But
Uh-oh.
let's see. For those of you who don't know, David was one of the first people I worked with on a Kickstarter project. But really, David, well, I think you were either the first or the second creator. Oh man, I was gonna say, I think. Gosh dang it! Did we interview you about Lighthouse way back when, or did we just
Way,
review?
way back when. That's actually how you and I met. Was the
Yeah,
first one shot that I had on the guild. You guys had picked up and read through and reached out to me and was like, look, we really love this stuff and we would like to get you on and talk to you. And it was, I know it wasn't the first. I think you guys had like 10-ish episodes out at the
yeah,
time.
yeah,
But a lot of those were introducing yourselves and some of the stuff that you were working on. But yeah, we just sort of clicked in that and we've
yeah.
been hanging out ever since.
That was back before Geeks Can't, before a bite of D&D, or well, I guess it was before bite-sized gaming, and back to a bite of D&D, or what was it called? I'm gonna mess all of this
Yeah,
up.
yeah. The original was a bite of D&D with you and
Micah and
Micah.
yeah, and
Yep.
yeah, Devin for from time to time. Yeah. And so we 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 hit it off there. Like you said, you wrote a great adventure called Lights Out at the Night Watch Lighthouse, which you can still get on the DM's Guild, I believe.
Which, if you don't mind me doing the plug, hit platinum tier like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Outstanding.
Yeah,
I
that's
know. I've been sitting there waiting on it because it gets like 15, 20 sales a month, and I've
nice.
just been like waiting.
Well, it deserves it. It's a great adventure. And yeah, definitely we had a little thing going at that point where we sometimes we played them, but um, we at least had all read and kind of found these cool adventures on the DM's Guild that we thought were really interesting, and so we would play them and grab the creators if we had time to do that. If not, we would just say, hey, like this is still really cool and we want to chat with you about it and maybe get a few more sales your way.
Make it
Um,
sound so creepy. Yeah, we'd play your game and then we'd just grab the creators in a
yeah,
van, take them
yeah,
down by a river.
throw them in and
Yeah,
off we go.
we
Yeah,
we
Swim for me.
we paint free dice on the side of the van, and
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
that's how I was grabbed.
yeah.
So then let's see. So then we did a couple of Kickstarters with with the early crew, and then David, you had this massive project that you were considering and kind of in the midst of in some ways for this big old campaign book. And we ended up kickstarting it. Man, that's like almost 3 years ago now. I think.
In the blessed holy year of our Lord 2020.
Yeah, before the dark times, before the Empire. Um, yeah, it was before the world was really truly on fire. That we did that. Was it really 2020, or did we
It was
deliver it in
2020.
2020?
No, we delivered it January 1st, 2021.
Okay,
That was
see,
when the PDF went up.
this is why I'm the worst person in the world, because dates have no meaning.
Right,
Um,
that's the reason.
yeah, okay, yeah, I at
Yeah,
least we
yeah.
agree.
That's not the reason.
Okay, darn, I thought we were so close.
No, no.
But yeah, we did this Kickstarter, and it was really fun. And then you, as you said in the pre-live portion, invested like the next year and a half of your life into getting this Kickstarter book to print and delivered. And I spent not nearly as much time, but was in some days in the trenches writing monsters or things with you, or reading over things and feeling
Yes.
sorry for you even if I wasn't
Which I got to be
contributing.
honest, like you at the very tail end are the guy that took us over the line because I had it in my head that I was going to do this massive project and it was my project and it was the vision that I saw and I was going to do it all by myself and I did for the most part like 95% of a level 1 through 20 adventure, a campaign guide, races, subclasses, backgrounds, an introduction to like everything. I did the layout, the illustration, I did the game testing, and I was helping with the revision work. And at the very tail end, I just came to you. I was like, Zach, I'm dying, and we need 50 stat blocks.
Yeah, like that seems like something I can do. Yeah, it was good. I was happy to help. And that was a lot of fun. I liked that book a lot. I liked that project a lot, and I'm very happy with what came of it. That said, um, and this is where I was going to rely on you, Troy. We started taking this to conventions with us, and we took
Mhm.
David with us to, was it Gen Con, Troy?
Yep, it was Gen
Yep.
Con.
Yeah, and started hawking our wares at different conventions. And in the meantime, David, you you were kind of, I mean, that was a tremendous toll of a project, and you needed
Mhm.
time to kind of like, let all the like burnt out neurons to to regrow, reconnect, and let those creative juices have an opportunity to start to recharge.
Yeah. I made a mistake by taking way too much on my shoulders all at once. But it was a mistake that I was proud of in the end because it turned out with a great project or product. But I took the time and I healed. And here recently, I have been like really charged with creative juices again. I've started outlining another one shot adventure. I've started outlining a starter set. I've got a 60-page outline for a level 5 through 10 adventure, and it's starting to become fleshed out. And then there's the thing that we're releasing next week.
Yeah, so you've eased back into it as well. What you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, very
that's
very
feeling good.
slowly.
So okay, well, David. All right, so we've let up enough. I just wanted people to have some idea of who you were and what you were about. Why don't you give us a rundown of what is coming next week?
All right, so next week is going to be our, well, my second biggest Kickstarter since, well, the first one, which was Knights of the Shadow Realm. This is Gribble's Guide to the Academic Adventurer. And what Gribble's Guide is, it is a collection of subclasses that are all based around some form of academia or some key point of knowledge. On top of that, we are doing a bit of an expansion to the Oranth setting, introducing 5 new guilds, orders, and schools that can be found on the continent of Oranthos, um, including uh, the Dextrali Knights, which are a zealotous group of undead and abomination hunters. I'm introducing a couple of wizarding orders that are diametrically opposed to each other. I am introducing a an adventuring guild that I think may have been touched on a little bit inside of Knights of the Shadow Realm, but very, very lightly, if it was at all. And I am also updating and refining a mini game that I've done or that I've created that allots for building your own uh, order, guild, school, establishment of your own.
I love this sort of a thing, and I think whether ignoring the 1E conversation, or not 1E, but the 1D&D conversation for right now, but talking about D&D 5E in its own light, I really think that this is like the way back when we talked about like the second generation. I think we talked about this a few years ago, Troy. I feel like the second generation or the second evolution of 5E, I felt we talked about was like rolling through. And I think the third evolution is now starting to roll through here, at the decade marker thereabouts, where I think we're seeing some really interesting. I mean, and it's stuff that maybe we should have had years ago, or it should have been more of a focus on. But I feel like we're finally like at this really great point in 5e where you can make really cool things like, or it makes perfect sense to do stat blocks for your subclasses so that GMs can show them off. And you can do things like these mini game guilds or schools and things. And because people like David or Andrew Bashinsky know the rules of 5e so well, they can design these modular games, mini games that still feel integrated, still
Mhm.
feel like they belong in the system. I think that was a whole lot harder to do years ago when everybody was still kind of getting a sense for what it was, and it was still, they were still developing what does 5e mean internally over at WotC. And now we've got like a veteran system, a robust system, and we've got robust creators who are taking this idea of what is a 5e game, and they're saying, well, you could do this and it can look like this, and what does a 5e product look like? It can look like this. um, and that's the thing for me, David, that I'm most excited about this book, is because I see it jam packed with your ideas for what 5e looks like in 2022.
One of the things that I really like um, is trying to figure out some sort of unique mechanic to put in anything that I do. And the guild building rules are my unique mechanic for this. Now, I think when you had Andrew Bashinsky on and you were talking about the Den of Assassins, I don't think it's a secret that I worked on his book as the layout artist.
Yeah, yeah.
And I like the idea of the stat blocks that he had in that. But I actually tend to lean more towards the other end of I'd like to see the mechanics in an NPC almost verbatim, but have like a 3 time a day or some sort of limiting factor as opposed to getting the flavor into a mechanic instead.
Spell slots or proficiency bonus times per day and whatnot, all that language that player characters have feel very out of place when you start referencing that stuff in a
Yeah.
NPC.
But as far as the unique mechanics and whatnot go, so this is the unique mechanic for this book. This is like things like 7 to 10 pages of how to build a guild, how to put it together. I have an art or like an artistic layout of the expectation of a sheet and how to keep track of everything, and then an empty sheet will be in the book as a printout that you can have for your group to keep up with everybody that's there. But I've also done things like in previous one shots, I've pulled in like ticking clock mechanics that
Hmm.
allow for a change of whatever the bad guy is, the very tail end of it. I've pulled in things like unique exploration rules because I don't like the idea of a ranger rolling a nat 20 and immediately being able to find something that's 3 weeks out. So I set ridiculously high, like specifically in this instance, it is a level 9, 7 through 9 adventure, and I set the DC at 35. But every time you make a check, there's a cumulative bonus that you get to the next roll.
Mm.
You will eventually hit the check you need, but it actively feels like you're exploring the region as opposed to I made my check once and we're just there.
Yeah, one of the things I liked the most about your last book was you had a guild system in there, and it was really simple. But the idea of leveling up in a guild and the guild giving you opportunities to join it, and then as you do quests or have interactions with the guild, you can gain ranks, and those ranks give you small bonuses. Like that to me was very like, oh, this doesn't get in the way of the player character's narrative. It adds to it.
That's back in this one too, by the by. So all
Yeah.
the guilds and orders and schools that are going to be a part of the expanding part of the campaign setting for Oranth, they have a 1 through 4 tier, similar to Knights of the Shadow Realm, where you can get these minor mechanical benefits by being a member of this guild.
Yeah, I love that because, like, to me, the closest we get for that in 5e, in regular 5e, is backgrounds, where you can take a
Hmm.
background that says that you are part of this order or this merchant's guild or this whatever, and you get some proficiencies and you get this little flavor ability that's typically social in nature and not mechanical, in reality, right? It doesn't.
See, and that's weird that you went there. That's almost exactly like the inspiration for how I got those together in the first place. Is like backgrounds are cool. Like I like mechanically, I like backgrounds, but mechanically, it or not thematically, it is a story that is being added. Mosquito. It is a story that is being added before your character is built, and I would like to see that be more of a proactive thing as opposed to something that happened to kind of shape your character in the past.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Dead mosquito, and that was sort of the genesis of that idea of here are these guilds. Everybody wants to join a guild. Everybody wants to work for a guild if you have that mindset, but like it's basically a background that you can extrapolate out into a slow drip feed
Yeah.
of sort of raising in the ranks and feeling like you're part of the world. The verisimilitude is there. If I showed you like the Dextrali Knights that's coming in, Gribble's Guide to the Academic Adventurer, and what you can do with that versus the actual flow chart that I put together to craft this thing in the first place that takes up 3 pages in a wiki, you'd see that I'm basically the same way. I've got this massive amount of lore, and like this order is set into two different arcs that you can go on, and like it splits apart, and then you have different areas that you can promote from within. But then I like boil it down to the concentrated form, which is they are zealotous undead abomination hunters that will stop at nothing because the world is meant for the living, not for the undeath. And here are 4 of the primary ranks and 4 specific mechanics, minor mechanical features that would well represent a member of their guild.
Could you off the top of your head give an example of what a guild rank or school rank could give a player that achieved it?
So the Dextrali. Now, as I mentioned, they're zealotous undead hunters or zealotous abomination hunters. They specifically are looking to rid the lands of those 2 types of creatures
Hmm.
specifically. So when you join any order, you're given some sort of a title. When you join as a rank 1 in the Dextrali, you're known as a researcher. So when you visit a Dextrali headquarter, you can use their libraries to gather information regarding abominations or undead. When you make an intelligence check to determine information on abominations or undead while visiting these headquarters, you roll with advantage. It's not a major thing. It only takes place in the headquarter library and only if you're researching undead or abominations, because that's what that order is
Yeah.
specifically searching for. Then we have like rank 2 is the Scourge Finder. So once a day, you can open yourself up to your surroundings to hunt your prey. If there are abominations or undead within 1,000 feet, you are made aware of their direction from you, but you don't recognize what type or how many, only the direction. So it's a very like low end form of I can't think of the spell's name off the top of my head, where you can like
Locate.
target and
Yeah.
yeah, locate
Locate
creatures,
creature.
something like
Yep.
that.
What guilds really do and things like this where you're achieving ranks and titles and yada yada is it's helping tie your party together, or at least it can. Because as much as I enjoy the idea of a party that is a paladin and a bard and a rogue and a ranger and they're all going 4 different directions, gosh darn it, it makes it easier to tell a story if they all have a unified purpose. At least in part, right? At least their main objective is the same. And one of the ways that you can help do that is, well, by their very nature, a paladin will probably have a different path or a different objective, a different personality than a rogue, right? And that's the name of the game. Paladins are warlocks, right? Like most of the times, these are opposed entities. The cool thing is that guilds help bring them into focus by if you've all joined a guild and you're all working towards this, then it becomes the guild's objectives that take precedent. But also, some of it is more subtle. The idea of a rogue is a rogue is a rogue. Well, but a rogue that is aligned and a member of the Dexterous Knights means something, right? And in your character sheet, but also in the player's subconscious, right? When they see that they are a researcher, they're rogue inquisitive, their investigator rogue or their mastermind rogue now is a member of this order that hunts down undead and abominations. Like they've moved like a half a step towards a paladin in feel, right? Um, and when their paladin buddy enters that guild with them, now they are aligned. Now the paladin doesn't just look at a rogue and say the rogue is the frustrating entity in our band that I have to keep in check. No, the rogue is now a peer in an order, right?
This stuff, getting everything unified under one thing, this works really well in tandem with the group patron mechanics
Yeah,
that are already
Mhm.
existent in the 5e setting to begin with. So the group patron is basically the person that could be in the guild that favors your group, that sends you out to do the things, and then working within the guild and for that group patron, then get you these minor mechanical benefits.
heck yeah.
So then you get the flavor of the guild. You get to use the unique group patron mechanics that I don't see very often get used. But then you get to see a group collectively come together as a more gelatinous unit. Gelatinous is not the word I wanted to use, but
It
D
was
and D
there.
by
it
God.
jumped into
Yeah.
my head, so I couldn't refuse it.
uh, all right. Well, David, tell us what day is Gribble's Guide to the Academic Adventure going live?
I don't know. I heard it was pretty soon. I heard it was like next Tuesday.
Oh,
This
perfect.
coming
This
Tuesday.
coming Tuesday, so the 8th is what it sounds like to me. Uh,
Yes.
absolutely. Okay, so the 8th of November, this is going live. Gribble's Guide to the Academic Adventure. This is an expansion to the world of Oranth. You can also pick up, so this is a soft cover book that you can snag at a discounted price, special price. You can also snag your level 1 to 20 campaign book, Knights of the Shadow Realm, along with this. I will note that kind of insider knowledge, I guess, whatever, that like most of the academic adventure, you can use like without the campaign, like without Knights of the Shadow Realm. If you're like, hey, I just want to use this in my own homebrew world, absolutely not going to be a problem. You can just tweak some of the flavor if you want to with some of like some of
The
the
Dextrali Knights.
Dextrali Knights and things like that if you don't feel like you have somebody called the Dextrali in your universe. But by and large, you can use it, and you can use the guild system and all that. No problem whatsoever. You know, telling those, utilizing that system and telling stories from that in whatever fantasy world you got going on. Um, so you could pick up the Academic Adventure. You could pick up Knights of the Shadow Realm, the little player's companion that goes with it, and heck yeah, there's some exciting stretch goals that we've already talked about a little bit, and there's some add-ons that you can pick up as well. But this is going live in just a few days, and then it's going to be live all throughout the month of November. Uh, David, is there anything else that you want the folks to know before we wrap this up?
So, sort of behind the scenes, a little bit on this for me as well is Knights of the Shadow Realm did exceedingly well for a first Kickstarter, exceedingly well. Um, a lot of the funds that I've been sitting on from that have been used in this so that I can get more art and better art put together. Not that I don't do decent art, but there are better artists out there than me, and I don't want to have to do everything on my own anymore. So I'm taking that mindset, hoping that this does just as well, or at least half as well, because I would like to use this as a jumping off point for 3 forthcoming projects, which we sort of touched on at the very beginning, all of which are meant to expand the world of Oranth even further. Speaking of unique mechanics, I am looking to do a unique series of one shots that can be played from either a good angle or an evil angle. I have
Mm.
a new starter set that I am looking to get together, which Troy and we've talked about a little bit before. And then I've got something very special that I see as being a little ways out, but it should be the next big adventure book that is brought to you from the world of Oranth. So my fingers are crossed that Gribble's Guide to the Academic Adventurer does well, because A, it's got a lot of great content in there that I've put my heart into, but B, I've got a lot of great content waiting to come out, and I'd like to pull in more people, and I'm looking to use this as a jumping off point to start finding and gathering sort of a small group of people that can really put in the effort to expand this world just even more as we move forward in the world of Oranth.
I love it. Perfect. Well, David, thank you so much for hopping on to the stream tonight. This stream, if you're watching it live, will also be available on YouTube later in the week, and also hopefully as a podcast as we're gearing up. Go check it out. You can already pick up Knights of the Shadow Realm if you want by visiting store.wogd.com. But you can also pick it up on the Kickstarter if you want it all together. Anyhow, thanks so much for hanging out with us, Troy. Thanks for chatting with us as well. Chat, thank you for hanging out, Craig and Sinnerson and everyone else that's been hanging out there. You guys are wonderful.
Thanks
And
for putting up with me again.
oh, anytime, anytime. All right, so thank you so much, folks, and go back to the Kickstarter, and we'll see you next time.